So just go to bubble.io, bubble.io, and you'll land on this page. So Bubble is the best way to build SaaS ops without code, dashboards without code. So essentially Bubble is the most powerful no-code platform as of today to create full stack web apps. And it's been used by several big companies. So very powerful editor, etc. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and log in to Bubble. And once you log in, you'll see a dashboard like this where you have apps. I already have question.ai that I've built, but let's click on create an app and give a name for the app. Let's call it, AI GPT-3 writer. In our case, you can give any name. If you have a website or domain, you can actually give that name as well. So I called it AI GPT-3 writer, and this is the URL where it will be live at. But like I mentioned, if you have your own domain, you can later connect. Once you have created the app, you can later connect it to your domain. For example, in my case, question.ai, sorry, rather app.question.ai. That's where I integrated. And just click on create app. So it is asking for some initial things, but we are going to build everything from scratch. So let's do skip application assistant, and it says there is this component library that's there. We can close this and we can use component library later. Got it. Since you're landing here for the first time, it is showing all these things to you. Nevertheless, so this is the Bubble page for our AI GPT-3 writer app, and we have a blank canvas here. This is where we are going to drag and drop most things and build things here. And on the left side, we have this menu. It looks dense, but trust me, as you get used to it, this becomes very normal for you to operate with. And like I mentioned, for every full stack app, you need few things in common. One is the database. So this data is actually the database part. We can delve deeper into it later, but I just wanted to let you understand what these things stand for. Design is where we drag and drop all these things like buttons, text boxes, etc., all these elements and build something. And data is where the data is stored, and workflow is where actions are created. That means when this button is clicked, what should happen behind the scenes? Should it call an API and fetch data? Or should it just change the color of another element, etc.? All those action things happen in workflows. And in order to make this even clearer, let's go to an actual app, for example, question.ai. There are essentially three components in the web application that you see here. One is the plain text. So this is the HTML part where there is plain text. Then you have colors, styles, etc. applied. As you can see, for example, this is green color here, and this is purple that you see here, etc. And you have this blue, all these things, right? So the actual bare bones structure, that is the text, is in HTML, but whatever styling that you see here, colors, fonts, etc., that is actually CSS. And whenever you click on this button, for example, generate questions, what's happening behind the scenes and this loader, and you get back some questions here, that is basically the JavaScript part that is getting triggered. So every time you click on a button, the JavaScript part, that is the action part, is being called. and it is fetching data from the API and displaying here. So essentially there are three components, that is the bare bones text, that is HTML, the styling, that is CSS, and the action part, that is the JavaScript. So you can kind of assume design plus styles is HTML plus CSS, and workflow is kind of like the JavaScript part that you see, and you have database, that is the backend. Then you have plugins and settings that are normal. So plugins is where you can integrate other third-party integrations, etc. So design plus workflow plus styles combine you to give the front-end aspect of a web application, and data gives you the back-end of web application, and plugins gives you that third-party integrations. This is what it is. And simply put, this is the canvas that we have. You can just click on anything, then keep a text box, or you can have a button, or you can have like a image element where you can upload an image, and several other things. You'll understand more as you see these things. Or you can have like an input box, etc. So basically input box is where you enter text, text box is where you see the text, so mostly for display. Let's delete this. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that this is the UI builder where you drag and drop things, etc., and build whatever you want. We'll go ahead and get started with that. But I just wanted to give you a primer on what are available on the left side. And as you get more and more familiar with all the elements, this doesn't look cumbersome at all. It will be very intuitive for you to use whatever element that you want and build interfaces on top of that. We shall go ahead and build our app in the next section, but this is essentially the introduction to Bobble UI.